Hello, everyone, and welcome to tonight's special edition of the Draft Countdown podcast. I'm your co-host, Brian Bosarge. As always, my co-host, Shane P. Hallam. Shane, 85 days, 23 hours, 59 minutes, 41 seconds away from the 2022 NFL Draft. But more importantly, today was the first day of practice at the 2022 Reese's Senior Bowl.
And you were there, Brian. You repping Draft Countdown well there in your hometown of Mobile, Alabama. So you have the recap up on the site on Draft Countdown. People want to go and read. We have the
about 20 minutes ago. It was hot off the presses, Shane. Hot off the presses, that recap.
Yeah, and we have the full weigh-in results as well. So if you want to look at those and what guys, what their heights, weights, and all that stuff is, you can check that out too. So let us have it, Brian. How'd it go? How'd everything go for you?
Everything went well. First, I want to say if anybody is watching live on YouTube or on Twitter at Draft Countdown, send us a question in chat or Twitter. If you had a question about today's practice or want to know maybe what I thought about a player or two that you saw, ask that question and we'll get to them at the end of what this won't be a full episode. I don't believe we're just going to recap the first day of practice, but we will get them at the end of the episode. But no, Shane, I mean, it was an active day of practice for the American and the national team. The national team was first up. They had the Jets team out there first. They ran from like 11:30 to 1:30 today. Then the American team, led by the Lions staff, ran from 2 to 4 today. They had a press conference this morning. Jim Nagy, the executive director, was essentially just emceeing this thing as he took no questions. I don't know if that was on purpose or just whatever, but they had Kenny Pickett, the quarterback from Pitt, answered some questions, and Fedarian Mathis, defensive lineman from Alabama. The most noteworthy thing that maybe come out of that was Jim Nagy was describing Kenny Pickett and kind of opened up a can of worms by saying he compared him to Joe Burrow, not necessarily on the field, Joe Burrow, but saying the way he carries himself with his teammates and his aura about him, compared to how Joe Burrow was treated by his teammates at LSU, and which continues today with your AFC champion Cincinnati Bengals. You didn't think I was not going to talk about that, did you, Shane?
Maybe we could get around it, but good. Congrats.
But Pickett kind of made headlines yesterday when he refused to get his hand measured. Not unlike last year when Devontae Smith refused to weigh in, and that just basically you're confirming the questions that everybody has, which I believe it was Blesto had a hand measurement on Kenny Pickett. Was it 8 1/4, 8.5?
8 1/4, yeah.
8 1/4 inch hands, which is just tiny for a quarterback. I mean, has there been a quarterback drafted like recently with hands that small? I can't think of them off the top of my head.
There has not been.
But he did take some questions on that, and he basically said, and Shane, now help me out here, as you're a Pittsburgh resident.
Mm-hmm.
He said that we really don't have to worry about his hand size because he played in the weather in Pittsburgh. Nothing to see here. Let's move on. Yeah,
man. I mean, look, he's played in negative degree weather. He's played in snow. So you could take that for what it's worth. Right. The reports coming out that maybe he's doing some hand training for the combine to get that measurement. His thumb is a little weird, kind of pokes out. Can't fold it all the way back. I don't know. We'll find out. It's probably a little bit too much to do with that.
For comparison's sake, I'm going to hold my hand up to the monitor here. There it is. My hands, I've measured thumb to finger there 9 inches. That is probably the bare minimum of what an NFL quarterback hand size is. I've heard 9 inches, 9 1/4, whatever. Yeah. I'm not slinging the rock out there, so it really doesn't matter. But I don't know. Maybe it's being overblown. Maybe it's not. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. I without looking at numbers, I really don't know if his did he fumble a lot at Pitt? I really don't know.
He did not. He wore gloves. So that was a question, but fumbling wasn't a major issue.
Fedarian Mathis didn't have a whole lot to say other than he talked about his versatility. He can basically play all over the defensive line, and I agree with that. He's athletic enough to play on the outside, and he is versatile enough to play inside as well. He did have a great quote that I thought, not only you can apply to football, but apply to life in general with stuff you do. And he said, why play the game if you aren't going to have fun? And you can apply that to life in different aspects of life. I mean, why do something if you're not enjoying it, But anyway, so that concludes the press conference portion of the day. Had a nice breakfast after that, and then, went on out to the first practice, Shane. And like I said, it was a national team practice, was up first. First thing I noticed, linebacker Terrell Bernard from Baylor, no pads, no helmet, no practice. He's done for the week. I mean, obvious. I'm assuming he's done for the week if he's not practicing on the first day.
Yeah, I mean, that's usually the case, right? We have got any kind of injury usually ends the week, and I know you ran into another injury on the field today as well, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, we're going to get to that, I think. And I know me and you have talked about it a lot when talking about the Senior Bowl rosters, was that there was no center on their roster. I mean, there was only one true center in the game, period, and that was Luke Fortner from Kentucky. But so I was anxious to see who would be snapping the ball for the national team, and it was Zion Johnson, who was a guard at Boston College, Cole Strange, who was a guard at Chattanooga, and Luke Goedeke, who was the starting right tackle for Central Michigan, was taking snaps. But unfortunately, as you alluded to, Luke Goedeke had a hamstring injury early in practice. I was the first to report that of anybody. Thank you very much, Tony Pauline. But anyway, his week is over. They did make an announcement, Shane, that I know made you happy, that, and I don't know who he's replacing, and maybe it's Bernard. Verone McKinley from Oregon, your number 5 safety, I believe,
yes,
is coming in. He'll be in tomorrow for practice.
Yeah, junior. So, must have been eligible. And he was kind of a late declare as well for the NFL draft. So I'm excited. He was in one of my stock up reports late in the season and, had a really good year. So I'm interested to see if he turns some heads.
Some interesting players returning punts and kicks for that team. Romeo Dubs, who I'm not sure how much he did that at Nevada, but Khalil Shakir, Bo Melton, Braylon Sanders, Rashad White all took some turns returning kicks there today. And you'll be happy to know that Penn State punter Jordan Stout bombing the football today. He had a couple 65 yards in the air, 170 yards in the air, just ball exploding off his foot.
It sounded like the punting was on fire. On the other side, Jake Camarda apparently had a couple big punts as well. So I tweeted, I think this might be the best punting class we've seen. Your boy Matt Ariza, still the number 1 punter. It looks like both these guys might be legitimate early day 3 picks. Jordan Stout from Penn State and Jake Camarda from Georgia.
Yeah, certainly appears that this is the year to need a punter if you need one. Spend one of those late round draft picks and get your guy that you want. Maybe do it in the 5th round. That's worked out for certain teams.
I bet someone's going to trade up for a punter, and people are going to lose their minds. It's going to happen this year.
I would not be surprised.
Yep.
I made note of Cole Turner today because since we didn't get to see the weigh-in, like as we've done in years past, it's not something you really noticed. And you don't really notice it on film, but he's listed at 6'6", 246. But he's got some tiny trunks there on the legs, and his legs kind of small. I mean, it didn't really seem to affect his game at Nevada and what he does well, but it's just something I noticed. Maybe it's nothing to it, but just an observation.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, it's nice to see the guys. I used to like when we could be at the weigh-in too, when you could see them. I mean, I know it sounds crude, but literally see them in their underwear, so you could just see their body shape and see, are they kind of rocked up and strong? Do they have, like you said, smaller legs, arms, certain things? Like NFL teams look at that right at the combine. I mean, they are looking at these guys and at the Senior Bowl as well, like looking at those things. So it is worth making notes of. I know Scott always got a lot of crap from us on the forum back in the day when he would talk about guys' bubble butts and all these different types of things. But it's important to take note of.
Shane, you will be happy to know that I think one of the best route runners out there, and that might have been a question of his coming in. We knew he had pure speed, but could he separate? Could he run the routes? Could he get away from the corners? If day one is any indication, Christian Watson answered that question today. Poor Gregory Jr., I know another guy you like out of Ouachita Baptist. Not so good. He drew the short end on covering Christian Watson on multiple reps during the one-on-ones, and it didn't go well for Mr. Jr.
And I think it's tough a lot of times for those smaller school players day one. Like, that the speed of this is you're playing against SEC guys, or in Watson's case, the best receiver in FCS. That could be tough. And so I'll be interested to hear from you if Gregory Jr. improves, like is day 2, day 3 much better, then it's like, okay, he belongs, right? We've seen that from some first-round picks at tackle at defensive line. But yeah, I'm excited. North Dakota State wide receiver Christian Watson weighed in great at 6'4", and I'm excited that he had a good first practice there.
Another guy who maybe you had some separation questions about was Cincinnati receiver Alec Pierce. And I thought he also showed off some good separation skills in the one-on-ones there, able to get open a few different times in those drills.
Yeah, I mean, that's exciting. He was a guy I was worried about after the weigh-in, how he'd look. So that's awesome. I think he was one of the faster guys down there too. They were tweeting out miles per hour. Watson was up there, and I was thinking receivers and running backs, Pierce, Rashad White, etc. So
I have that tweet saved here, and I'll pull that up now that you've mentioned it. He was not in the top 5 today. The fastest guy on the field today per the GPS tracking was Fayetteville State corner Joshua Williams, who I thought had a solid day. I'll get to him in just a second, but 21.75 mile per hour. They got him Romeo Dubs, and there was a route here and I'm guessing it was this one that he had where he topped 21.25 mile an hour. Rashad White over 21 mile an hour. Braylon Sanders, I was just getting ready to say, and I bet you it was on this route that I saw where he beat Gregory Jr. I hate to keep picking on the poor guy, but Sanders beat him on a go route, and I'm assuming that was this one where he had 20.84 mile an hour, and Christian Watson topped out at 20.71 mile an hour. So those are your top 5 during the national practice. I haven't seen we haven't seen anything from Zebra from the American team practice yet that I know of, but that was the ones from the national practice.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool to see, and honestly, a lot of times that can be better than a 40 time, like on the field. I know they're not in pads today, but a full completely, but it can be very helpful to know in this kind of practice situation who's that fast, and compare that to the combine and measurements, that kind of thing.
Well, they were talking about that with Cooper Kupp the other day, where at the Senior Bowl, he was one of the faster guys on the field, but only ran in the 4.6 at the combine. So, maybe the 4.6 drops him to the 3rd round, but you see now he's one of the best receivers in the NFL. That team's maybe going to the GPS tracking more than the 40-yard dash as a measurement of speed on these wide receivers. Kobe Bryant, the corner, not the the late basketball player, but Kobe Bryant, the corner from Cincinnati, who he had to be on his A game every week because he was getting the lion's share of the targets because teams weren't throwing at Sauce Gardner. They were throwing at Kobe Bryant, and he held his own, and he did that again today. There was one rep where Braylon Sanders was just trying to dance and juke around, and the quarterback would have got killed by the time Braylon Sanders got through doing the thriller dance there that he was trying to do to get separation. But Kobe Bryant was having none of it and shut him down. I thought he had a good day. And I was speaking about Joshua Williams. For the most part, I thought he was solid as far as he was of the D2 corners there. He was much, much better than Gregory Jr. Was Joshua Williams from Fayetteville State. But he did get beat deep on a pass to Romeo Dubs, that the one where Dubs had the high mile per hour rating. And Carson Strong put the ball right on the money. But as I noted to our buddy Pigskin Paul, who was sitting there with me, he should. They've done that probably 1,000 times in practice.
Yeah, right. It's always nice when you get the teammates there, the quarterback, receiver, like you have a guy you're comfortable with and know really well. But that's good news on Joshua Williams too, because I would have expected a rougher day from him as well. So he's definitely a guy, I would have to go back and watch after this week and see how he continues to develop.
Yeah, he's listed at weighed in at 6'2" and a half, 193 pounds. But 32 and a quarter inch arms. And he showed that length and used the physicality today in those one-on-one drills. He got the advantage on those guys a good bit. Trevor Penning. Yeah. Advertised.
Legit. Nice.
Legit. He's there. They even had him taking some reps at right guard today. I don't think I think it's just, go do what you can do, see what you can do. He was mostly at left tackle from what I saw. There was one rep against Perry and Winfrey, I think a guy that we're pretty high on, and he just buried him. And it was like nothing, like he wasn't even there. He had another – they were doing some reps later. It wasn't necessarily one-on-ones. I'm not really sure what the drill was, but it looked like one-on-one drills. But they were lined up Kyron Johnson, the linebacker from Kansas, who weighed in at a robust 6 foot, 230 pounds. Not sure why they had him running edge drills, but Trevor Penning did not look amused and basically just it ended exactly how you would expect it to end.
I mean, look, this was a question of when you have a guy from Northern Iowa, even if he was one of the best players in all of FCS. I think him and Watson both. Is he going to translate immediutly? Yeah, a lot of times it takes a day, half a day. The fact that he came in and just was lighting guys up, lighting up Perry and Winfrey, who could be a top 50 pick. I mean that says a lot to me, and I think it really cements Penning in that top half of the first round.
I didn't watch a whole lot of the to see the one-on-ones between the offensive line and defensive line because, like I said, they weren't in full pads today. So I didn't really. If we get to watch practice tomorrow, that's where I plan on my concentration being, is on those guys. But what little bit I saw of Bernhard Raymond, the offensive tackle from Central Michigan, and Matt Willetsko from North Dakota, they also looked like they belonged out there today. Raymond, of course, the converted tight end, and Willetsko, the FCS prospect who measured in looking just sick, almost. He's an eighth of an inch short of 6'8", 310, 35-inch arms, almost an 86-inch wingspan from Matt Willetsko. This guy, you looking for your day 3 project developmental offensive tackle, that's a guy I want to try.
I dig it. I think it's going to be fun for you to watch tomorrow, hopefully, and see them up against. So there's some good edge rushers, and that you pointed out, Dominique Robinson and Bo Mafe. So it should be Logan Hall. It should be a fun week in the pit. Yeah,
during the full team drills there, Kenny Pickett just kind of looked indecisive, didn't get the ball out. He would have been sacked on 3 straight plays, once by Mafe, 2 straight plays by Dominic Robinson. Yeah. And as usual, we see a lot of these guys, these quarterbacks, never play under center in college. And so that's always fun to watch, is who has the snap issues under center. And Desmond Ridder was the victim today. It's caught up to him a couple of times trying to take snaps from center.
So would you kind of rate the quarterbacks of the national team today, how they played? Would it go Strong, Pickett, Ridder?
That sounds fair to me. I think Strong showed. I think he definitely, without a doubt, has the biggest arm of the 3 on the national team. I think we knew that. But I also think he was the most consistent of the 3 today as well. But of the 2 squads, this was the more inconsistent of the 2 groups of quarterbacks. I'll say that.
Cool.
So the American team, they got started, like I said, about 2:00, and the first 25 minutes of this practice, nobody was even wearing a helmet. This was like odd. Now, once it got going, I think the pace of the Lions practice was better than the Jets practice earlier, but it took a while to get going. I'm not even talking about stretching. I mean, these guys were doing walkthroughs without helmets out there for like the first 5 or 10 minutes of practice. It was weird. And somehow in this walkthrough drills they were doing, San Diego State edge rusher Cameron Thomas gets hurt. I don't know how or what hurt, but he goes to the locker room off with the trainer, and he was out for most of practice. Eventually came back with just his jersey on, no pads, which, as we spoke earlier with Goodrich, probably not a good sign. Don't know if he wrenched his back maybe or something I have no idea, but that's disappointing, because he was one of the players that a lot of people were looking forward to seeing, trying to see how, he was one of the most productive pass rushers in the Mountain West Conference, out of the Mountain West Conference this year. So we wanted to see how he would do against some of these bigger SEC offensive linemen. And now we're probably not going to get to see that.
Yeah, I mean, it's always tough, but you got to protect yourself too. If you're not feeling 100%, like don't go out there. Don't make it worse.
No, I 100% agree. I'm all about, it sucks for us, not getting to see what these guys can do, but protect yourself. I thought it was interesting, Shane, that during one of the portions, the linebacker coach for the Lions was working out Amari Barno, Kingsley Enagbare, Jermaine Johnson, and D'Angelo Malone at linebacker.
All those guys can play linebacker in the NFL. 3-4 outside backer. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I think D'Angelo Malone. I think he's going to be a linebacker at the next level, just based on his size. I don't think he's ever going to be a hand down pass rusher in the NFL like he was at Western Kentucky. Not as many people returning kicks for the American team. Velus Jones, obviously, was one of them. Dontario Drummond and Calvin Austin, the diminutive wide receiver from Memphis, had one of the smaller weigh-ins of the day yesterday. Where is he?
Just go to the smallest height there. 5'7" and 3/8 and 173 pounds.
Yeah, very small. But anyway, I tweeted out earlier, and I don't know how familiar you are with wrestling there, Shane, but I said basically if Rey Mysterio was a football player, he would be Calvin Austin. Very, very small guy. I have sad news to report on one of your favorite tight end prospects, Grant Calcuttara. I mean, I say sad news, but I watched a good bit of the running back tight end pass pro drills, and Grant Calcuttara looked exactly like you would expect a tight end who has never really had to block, trying to block. It was not safe for work, Shane. That's basically what it was.
Like that, yeah. That he's never been a blocker, so that's not what anyone will draft him to do. Ultimately, just throw him out that slot there. I'm excited to see him catch passes later in the week too.
Yeah, and he did a good job when he was running routes. I mean, that's what he is. He's a move tight end. He's a H-back. He's never going to be an inline blocker. Does that hurt his value? Or where he's going to be drafted? Probably. I mean, it probably puts him in the early day 3 area. But it's, he's not there. I'll tell you who was hammering him down in those pass pro drills, and that was Florida running back Alec Pierce. That guy, and he looks stout.
Yeah, I mean, 220 pounds and 5'9". Yeah,
5'9", 220 pounds. He looks every bit of that squatty, stocky running back that every team needs to have at least one of. And I think he showed well today that he can be that he can be counted on in pass protection. And he had some good runs too in some of the 9-on-7 drills and stuff that I saw. JoJo Doman tried even one of them drills and it didn't go well for the former Cornhusker there. And for a guy who I don't think we considered blocking to be his primary top of his skill set, Isaiah Likely, thought he did a good job in those drills as well.
No, I mean, it's good. I like Pierce a lot. I think it's going to be a big week for him. But how did the receivers go? Some of the DB receiver one-on-ones.
I thought it went fairly well for a few, especially Danny Gray, SMU. He stuck out to me. He come off faster than he really looks on the tape out there on the field today. In some of his routes, he beat who did he beat? He beat Tyson Anderson, the safety from Toledo. Beat him deep on a route and was one of the better throws of the day from any quarterback by Malik Willis on a deep ball down there. And I'll get to Malik Willis in a minute because,
there's a lot to talk about there. Yeah,
lot to unpack with Malik Willis. Jalen Tolbert. He was okay for the most part. Had some drops was an issue. Drops were an issue for the American team. Several receivers, Velus Jones, Jalen Tolbert, and a few others. I can't remember off the top of my head, but there was several passes dropped by them. It wasn't quite to the epidemic level of Kadarius Toney in the first couple of practices last year, but where it seemed like every other pass he dropped in practice. Roger Mccreary, we talked about him off air yesterday. If anybody lost the weigh-in yesterday, it was Mccreary, who measured in sub 6 foot, short, only 29-inch arms, or a little over 29-inch arms. And
I mean, that's I think I may put some more in the slot corner category ultimately.
Yeah, which ultimately almost takes him out of the first round.
Yeah.
But
I mean, we'll see.
I lost my train of thought here with Mccreary. I had a note on Mccreary, but he was but he his cover skills are there. He easily ran down the field with Jalen Tolbert on a go route, and I think we both think Jalen Tolbert's got some speed. He basically ran a route of Trey Turner's for him on one of the routes. He was right in his pocket. And McCreary he could end up being one of the better nickels right out of the gate. If that's what he ends up being. I think he has those man cover skills to line up in the nickel and cover these guys. His speed, I don't know what his speed's going to be, but I think, as far as the size goes, that's definitely where he's going to end up. But I thought he did a great job in coverage today.
I mean, it's good to hear. I think he's going to be one of those harder guys to figure out where he's going to go in the draft, somewhere in day 2, probably at this point. But because the tape is great. Let's get to these quarterbacks. That's always the talk. What Malik Willis, if you were following on Twitter, he either looked like the greatest quarterback to ever play at the Senior Bowl or the worst. What was the deal?
I think Joe Marino, and I put it in the column, I think Joe Marino of the Draft Network said it best in a tweet he had after practice. He said, the best way I can sum up Malik Willis's performance today was that he had the 5 best throws of the day of any quarterback. He had the 5 worst throws of any quarterback of the day. And if you've watched Malik Willis on tape, that's who he is.
Mm-hmm.
He is his talent. The highs are high, but the lows are low. And there is no middle ground with Malik Willis. It's just not. If that's what you want in a quarterback, you want consistency issues, or you want consistency for a quarterback, I don't think Malik Willis is your guy. If you want to hit a home run, or he's basically home run hitters in baseball now. It's either a home run or a strikeout, and that's kind of where Malik Willis is.
Well, I think if you're an NFL team too, you feel like, okay, can I take the great things and project them? I think, Josh Allen had a lot of the same issues, right? Had some like amazing throws, had some really bad ones, and the Bills took away the bad stuff. And now, you have that. Malik Willis has a kind of upside. So I want to see if he develops with that NFL coaching the next 2 days. Does he get better? Do you think he was the best quarterback on the American team? Did anyone else, kind of match up? How'd you see the rest of these guys?
I will be honest. I thought Sam Howell was the best quarterback on this team, and he might have been the best of the. If I was rated going 1 to 6, I might put Howell at 1 of all 6 quarterbacks today. I thought just across the board, he made good throws. He made consistent. His accuracy was consistent. He, along with some of the other quarterbacks, like early in practice, they had some issues sailing the football a little bit, throwing high, but that settled down the rest of practice. And I thought Howell was consistently the most accurate of the 3 quarterbacks on the American team the entire way. Bailey Zappi also was consistent and accurate throwing the football, but you can see how he's limited with what he can do with his arm. He probably has the weakest arm of all 6 quarterbacks here. And I think we kind of figured that out or knew that just based off the tape and everything coming in, that he wasn't going to have the biggest arm. And there can be a team, Bailey Zappi can win games at the NFL level in the right system with the right scheme. It's going to take the perfect match. There's only a few teams probably that can work out with, but Bailey Zappi, he was incredibly accurate today. Not incredibly, he was accurate today and made enough plays for you to like, but like I said, there are arm limitations with him.
And that's going to be that ceiling that you can't get past. But it seems like the quarterback play from some of the years that I went down there, the first day there's like 1 or 2 usually guys that you can just kind of roll out. I'm like, I don't really want to watch those reps, but it's good to hear about Hal too, because I felt like he could have gotten lost in the shuffle. But his arm, from some of the highlights on Twitter, videos people were posting, looked strong.
Yeah, he looks strong. His arm is good enough. He doesn't have the Josh Allen, Malik Willis arm, but it's good enough. His arm's comparable to some of the other more successful quarterbacks in the NFL. So he'll be fine there. I haven't really seen enough of his mobility at the practices yet. I think that might show up during the game. That might be something we're able to see during the game, how he's able to move in the pocket, with the full rush on and everything else. To tell there, but I thought he had a great practice today. I wanted to get back to a couple of DBs I made note of, and then we'll finish up. But Tariq Woolen, UTSA, great measurable. Was it 6'4", Shane? I believe he come at 6. On the wrong side of the page.
Yeah, he came in 6'3" 3/8" and 205 pounds.
Yes, 33 and a half inch arms. He was up and down today. There were some reps where you could see his length and everything paying off, but I'm now questioning his long speed, and whether that's going to be a factor for him going forward. There was one play where, who was it? Where Bailey Zappi actually threw a perfect deep ball to him, and Velus Jones had at least a full yard of separation on Woolen down the field, and Zappi just put it right on Jones for a TD. So that concerns me a little bit with his speed. Does he have that long speed to make it? I thought, to me, of the best overall defensive back I saw today on the American team was Mario Goodrich from Clemson. Not a name that gets talked about a whole lot. I think he's probably like cornerback 15 or 16 for me right now. But if he puts together a full week like he did today, he's moving up for me.
That's interesting. I mean, he played on a really good Clemson defense. Obviously Andrew Booth gets a lot of the accolades there, but yeah, I mean, I like to see it. I hope he keeps playing well. Woolen, I guess workouts are going to be big for him then if we get to see what that speed truly is.
Yeah, like just based off that one rep, if you told me he would run 4.61 or something, or 4.58, 4.61 area, I'd believe it.
Yeah, it might be an ideal cover too.
Yeah,
press corners so.
With the length and everything. Right. Yeah, but safety help on top type deal. So yeah, that basically wraps up those two practices. Great day. It was great to be out there. Weather wasn't too bad today, Shane. It was a little breezy out there.
Always is.
And it always will be. But yeah, probably in the upper 50s today. It wasn't too bad. But the weather not looking so good for the next 2 days. The players will still get the work in. They'll move over to the covered facility over next door to the stadium at the University of South Alabama, where I was at on Saturday for the HBCU Combine. But I don't know if they'll let us in to watch it. They did in 2019, but I don't know if they will this year, just based off the number of people that they have credentialed, if they'll just say no. COVID shouldn't be an issue here, because every single person covering this, if for anybody out there listening that doesn't know, in order for you to get a credential picked up for the Senior Bowl, you had to be fully vaccinated, as well as show a negative COVID test 48 hours prior to you picking up. So no person wearing a Senior Bowl credential badge has COVID. So that shouldn't be an issue in letting us in. But like I said, just the sheer number of where to put everybody and safety purposes, because I almost got ran over by Adam Troutman 2 years ago at that practice on a seam route down the middle there. I was standing in the end zone next to a few others, and he came right barreling at us. So that might be the more pressing issue than, the COVID part of it.
Yeah, maybe you should float out there that anyone that came to the HBCU Combine should get first dibs.
I think so. That should be
decent a little bit.
Should be a rule. We have a couple of questions in the comments section, which I think I kind of answered this one already.
Yeah,
Malik
Willis
said, how did Malik Willis do? I think we talked about that already. G10 says, what did you guys think of Darian Kennard? I guess I said earlier, I didn't watch a whole lot of the one-on-ones with the offensive line and defensive line, but what I did see as I was getting ready to leave practice is apparently Deuce Staley, who's acting head coach for the American team this week, decided to take one offensive lineman and one defensive lineman and just let them go. Best two out of three for supremacy. And they chose Jermaine Johnson and Darian Kennard. Ooh. And well, we ended in a draw. Jermaine Johnson got him the first time. Kennard got him the second time, and they kind of stalemated on the third rep. So, but yes, that was the only real showing I saw of Darian Kennard, but he looked good there on a couple of those reps with Jermaine Johnson, who by all accounts, from what other people had told me and from what I saw of him today, looks every bit the part of what you think he would be, and possibly could end up in that late first round area.
Yeah, and look, the weigh-in was great for him. 6'4" 3/4, 324 pounds, the 83-inch wingspan, arms are 34 5/8. I mean, pretty rock solid measurables for him. So I'm interested to see how he does the rest of the week and hear from you and others how it goes. So, man, great job today. Thanks for being down there. You're killing it. On Twitter, check the website, everyone, and definitely follow Brian Deep Fried Draft and follow his Twitter account to get updates through the practices too.
Yeah, and before we go, I want to thank our frequent listener Dwayne LaBelle. Gave me this cool Alba Middle School football hat today. Saw him at practice for a few minutes. He stopped by and gave me this cool sweet hat of my alma mater. Was where I went to high school, but now it's just a middle school. The high school doesn't exist anymore, but still, it's where I graduated high school from. So proud to rep the Sharks.
Yeah, awesome.
There. But yeah, Shane, we're gonna go. We're doing a podcast every day this week. You won't be with me on Thursday,
correct?
But we'll do our normal podcast at 8:00. Central, 9 Eastern tomorrow, and then we'll have we'll hopefully we'll be talking about day 2 of practice, or we're going to be talking about what the 5 people that they allow in from the NFL Network and everything's talking about day 2 of practice.
Yep. Yeah, we'll go through it tomorrow and cut it up. So you'll find your way in there. You're sneaky.
We'll definitely try. So yeah, we're gonna cut this one off now. This will be up on Spotify and Apple a little bit later, and on Podbean. Wherever you listen to your podcast, give us a 5-star rating and write a review so other people can hear the podcast. If you're following us on YouTube, subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. So when we go, and we're going to be going live at odd times the rest of the week, other than tomorrow. So you'll want to hit that notification bell so you get notified when we go live here on YouTube. For Shane P. Hallam, follow him on Twitter at Shane P. Hallam. I'm Brian Bosarge. Follow me on Twitter at DFriedDraft. Follow Draft Countdown on Twitter at Draft Countdown. Go to draftcountdown.com right now and read my recap of today's Senior Bowl practice. Until tomorrow, see you.